If you're a founder, you've probably been taught to sell the perfect narrative, right? That polished before and after story. But what if the most valuable asset you have is actually the story you think you can't tell yet? The one that's still unfolding? Today, we're going to break down why your unfinished story isn't a liability. In fact, it's your greatest strategic weapon. And it really all starts right here with this idea. This isn't just some nice quote to put on your wall. It's a fundamental business decision. See, the choice to tell your story, even when it's messy, isn't about waiting for the market to give you a gold star. It's about you deciding that you have the authority to lead from exactly where you are right now. And that idea, well, it brings us right to a really common pitfall for so many leaders. It's something that's often hiding in plain sight. We call it the founder's closure trap. It's this belief that you have to wait for the story to be over before you can even begin to tell it. Now, the crucial thing to get here is that the closure trap isn't some personal failing. No, it's a strategic liability. It actually imposes what we call a closure tax, all those missed opportunities and lost connections that happen while you're waiting. It's this mistaken belief that the only thing of value is that shiny after photo, when the real power, the real truth, is in the journey itself. And it's easy to fall into this trap, isn't it? It seems logical. We assume our investors, our customers, our teams, they all want to see invincibility. They want that big, inspiring success story, the clear lesson, the dramatic transformation. So we wait. We wait for that neat, tidy conclusion before we dare to say anything. But what happens in all that time we're waiting? What's the actual cost to our brand, to our influence, to our ability to really connect with people when we refuse to show up until the story is all tied up with a perfect bow? That's what we really need to dig into. And this whole situation forces you to make a choice. You're at a fork in the road, and you have to decide between two completely different foundations for your leadership. The first is what we call polished performance. The second, and way more powerful, is something called high-resonance authority. Okay, so let's really break this down. Polished performance, on one hand, needs that perfect ending. It feels curated, it feels safe, but all it does is create spectators. People who are watching you from way over there at a distance. But high-resonance authority, that thrives in the messy in-between. It feels true, it feels human, and it's what creates real connection. This is how you stop paying that closure tax and start tapping into real narrative truth. And here it is. This is the bottom line, the core thesis of this whole thing. You simply cannot build lasting, real, high-resonance authority on a fragile foundation of polished performance. It's just not possible. One is durable and the other is brittle, and every single founder has to choose which one they're building on. So how do we actually do this? How do we make this shift in the real world? Let's look at a micro story, and let's treat it not as just some personal anecdote, but as a high-level case study in narrative strategy. We're going to call it the bedside photo pivot. The story starts with something really simple. A photo shows up, and it triggers this really complex feeling. That strange mix of being so grateful for your life right now, but also feeling a little bit of grief for a version of yourself you left behind? It's a classic in-between moment, and it's a moment that most leaders would just hide because they're afraid it looks like weakness. But you have to understand, the fear here, it wasn't about being judged for the story itself. The real fear, the deep fear, was about being seen in a moment of unresolved emotion, being visible right in the middle of a chapter, not after it's been neatly closed. And for a founder, man, that is terrifying, being seen without all the answers. And right here, this is the pivot. The decision of what to do with that feeling wasn't just a personal one. It was a strategic choice, a choice to either retreat back into that safe, polished performance or to lean into high-resonance authority by sharing just a small piece of the truth. And that choice, it leads us directly to a framework that you can actually use right now. It's called the Small True Peace Protocol. And it's how you build real, genuine connection without having to put on a performance. It's got 3 simple steps. Okay, step 1, identify the unfinished story. That moment you keep replaying in your head when no one's around. Step 2, isolate the core truth. And you do this by asking a different question. Not, is this impressive enough, but is this true enough? And finally, step 3, name it. And this is key. It's not about oversharing. It's about sharing one honest sentence, not the entire backstory. And what you get is this, a single, powerful, honest sentence. It doesn't overshare. It's not asking for pity. It just names a complex human truth that hits home because, well, so many of us have felt that exact same thing. And the impact is just profound. People don't respond by demanding all the juicy details or asking a bunch of invasive questions. The response is just recognition. It's that feeling of, yes, that's real. You've created a moment of shared humanity, and that is the absolute bedrock of genuine authority and trust. So you see, this is so much bigger than just a content tactic or a clever social media post. This is a comprehensive leadership philosophy. It's about making the choice to lead from the middle of your story, not just from the podium after it's all over. All right, so what are the key things you need to walk away with? Let's just boil it down. First, truth is what creates connection, not perfection. Second, the middle of the story is where your audience, your team, your customers is going to feel you the most. Third, having boundaries is what makes this kind of truthful storytelling sustainable in the long run. And finally, never forget, permission is a decision you make. So this all comes down to one big, crucial question you have to ask yourself. When you really look at your brand, your leadership style, how you communicate, are you building your authority on a foundation of polished performance? Or are you building it on narrative truth? Because the opportunity in front of you is just huge. It's the chance to finally stop hiding behind those tired before and after stories and to start leading from those honest, powerful, and deeply human in-between moments. That's where real connection is actually forged. If you're ready to make that shift and you want some help giving yourself permission to finally share your real story, you can explore more at 365freedom.online. It's time to stop waiting for the story to be over. Your authority is waiting for you right in the middle of it.